Hello, you're listening to a special interview episode of Popcorn Podcast with Lee and Tim, where we chat to the writer and director of Our Son, Bill Oliver.
I'm Timmy Fland, movie buff.
And I'm Lee Livingstone, entertainment journalist.
And we love to talk all things movies. Now, in Our Son, husbands Gabriel and Nikki have been married for 13 years and appear to have created the perfect life together. But Gabriel is struggling to find a creative and personal spark while caring for their young son, Owen. Stress and anxiety flare as their relationship gets into an irreparable place, forcing the couple to head for a divorce. Now the two must navigate revealing the news to friends and family, a custody battle, and ultimately the journey to find themselves and support their son.
Our Son is directed by Bill Oliver from a screenplay by Oliver and Peter Nikowitz.
The film stars Luke Evans, Billy Porter, Andrew Rannells, Christopher Woodley, Robin Weigart, Kate Burton, Felicia Rashad, Cassandra Freeman, and Isaac Powell.
Our Son is a film we haven't seen before, as it reflects and it celebrates the experience of queer parents as they're heading towards this, profound crossroads in their relationship, which is divorce.
And Our Son is ultimately about a family learning how to love and overcome their differences as a couple for the sake of their son and their own individual happiness as well.
So, Tim, you sat down with writer and director Bill Oliver, whose first feature, Jonathan, starred Ansel Elgort, Patricia Clarkson, Suki Waterhouse and Matt Bomer, and it premiered at the 2018 Tribeca Film Festival, winning the award for Best First Feature at the Trieste Science and Fiction Festival.
Oliver is a Film Independent Fellow as an alumnus of the Screenwriting Lab and received an MFA in Directing from AFI. Our Son is his second feature film.
So, dear listener, in Tim's chat with Bill Oliver, he shares how the film celebrates our flaws and failures as humans, what authenticity in queer films looks like to him, and what stars Luke Evans and Billy Porter connected with most about this story. It's going to be all of that and more. So let's take a listen.
I don't feel like we're partners in this. I haven't for a long time.
Hi, Bill. Thank you so much for talking with me on Popcorn Podcast. Congratulations on your film, Our Son.
Thank you so much.
In interviews, you've said how we as queer people fought for the right to marry, which means we also fought for the right to divorce, that 2-for-1 deal that comes with that. Divorce is a difficult topic to portray in any context. So why did you want to tell this particular story?
After our first feature, my writing partner and I really just wanted to make a queer film. We started with that and for a film for ourselves that we wanted to see and that we weren't seeing out there, which is the kind of film we like to watch, which is kind of in a more American 70s sort of European or Japanese, just that kind of observes the everyday lives of people and queer people in particular. So the idea of divorce was exciting because we hadn't seen that before, really explored in a film, in a feature film between two men. And it allowed us to show this family just sort of trying to keep their heads above water and going through something very familiar and very, very mundane. And it also felt, a little bit progressive to us to move beyond sort of, first love and coming out and sort of the more tragic stories that you often see in queer films. To something that was, a little bit more everyday and difficult, but also, hopeful in the end. We wanted to be able to celebrate our flaws and our failures as much as our successes, which I think, for queer people and other sort of marginalized people, sometimes there's this pressure to be perfect. So divorce is kind of a perfect entryway to exploring all of that.
It is. Celebrating flaws and failures is a profound thing to say. And I think your movie really does tap into that in a real way. You used the word progressive earlier. Is it still progressive to show a gay diverse drama at the moment?
I hope so. I think it's something different and it feels sort of, it's something that, most people associate with straight people. And so, that was both a challenge in telling the stories to not make it, completely sort of straight wash, but make sure it was queer specific enough to speak to a queer audience and make, our queer audiences feel represented. But we also embraced the fact that it was, relatable to a straight audience or a wider audience, but perhaps somewhat progressive in the sense of showing, marriage isn't just for straight people, divorce isn't just for straight people raising kids, but seeing it just kind of, but not in a way of hitting them over the head with that.
Yeah.
Just showing it, just watching it unfold.
Because audiences see that coming from a mile away, right? Where you just,
Right.
feeding all this stuff just to elicit a reaction. It has to feel organic.
Yeah.
That leads me into your relationship with your co-writer, Peter Nikowitz.
Yeah.
You've worked together on a feature before. What unique perspectives and insights do you both bring to the writing table?
Well, we've worked together for a long time. This is our second feature, but we've done shorts. He's written plays that I've directed. So it's probably 20-year friendship and collaboration. So for this film, it was very helpful for us to have that kind of relationship and that sort of intimacy together, so that it sort of fueled the film, which is very much about intimacy and relationships. And, we both were able to draw on personal experiences. Neither is divorced, but we've both been through breakups. I have 2 sons who I helped a lesbian couple raise, and he has 2 nieces that he adores. So we were able to draw upon each other's sort of understanding of children in order to get all of that right. And yeah, so we just have kind of a shorthand at this point that made it all work.
You find that authenticity in the writing, right? And when you have a really trusting relationship with a partner like you do with Peter, and it's something that audiences crave and deserve, right? Is that authenticity. What elements of Our Son did you want to ensure felt as authentic as possible?
First and foremost in the writing, and then also in preparing to direct it, that it felt very real, very lived in, very authentic, to show, we wanted audiences to really believe that this family exists, that queer people exist and these queer families exist, but also to kind of elevate them, show that they're beautiful, and as well. That went into the writing, the dialogue, everything had to feel very real, very natural. And Peter's very gifted at that. We did a lot of research into the divorce aspect to make sure we got all of that right. The procedural element, we had a family lawyer who was advising us. And then also into the casting, it was very important that all the queer roles be portrayed by openly queer actors.
Thank you.
Yeah, which I know. It was, it's not easy. I feel it's very important to make one's best efforts. And we're very fortunate that we are at a time of enough progress that we're able to get 2 stars to play the leads. And a lot of people don't understand this really about the business side, is that you really absolutely have to have star level actors in order to get your film off the ground. So I think it says something about the progress that we've made. And also we were just extremely fortunate to cast those 2. So that was a big part of the creating an authentic world.
Absolutely. And of course, we're talking about Billy Porter and Luke Evans in the title roles. How did they resonate with the script? What pulled them in?
Billy was the first person I met with before Luke, and his first thing that he said to me was that the script really resonated with him personally, and the sort of quietness of it, the domesticity that, people don't see that side of him too often, because, they see the red carpet and Broadway and the sort of larger than life persona that he has sometimes. But I think the quietness, the realism of it was very appealing to him, something he hadn't done before, and it was a chance to show that side. And for Luke, he's openly, gay, but he has played a lot of different kinds of roles, from musical theater to, hardcore action and a lot of straight characters. So I think he was excited and probably a little bit nervous about being so vulnerable and doing something kind of much simpler.
I mean, they're both extraordinary in the film, and the chemistry between them is palpable. You feel like, you've touched on it being a real lived-in world, that they've been in a relationship for over a decade and they've raised their son together and all those things. So that definitely comes across in their performances and the way the film's written. Just on that, the connection you make as an audience with both characters, it does shift. Well, for me, it did anyway, based on the decisions they made, the actions. Your film challenges you to exercise empathy to the scenarios and maybe think about what you would do in that situation. I always put myself in the character's shoes. Is your intention for audiences not to take sides and simply observe?
The film is very much about empathy and flaws, as I've spoken about. And so our intention, and something that was very intentionally and carefully crafted, was sort of the degree to which each character is flawed and reveals their flaws. And, sometimes we're at our worst when we're going through breakups, and to not shy away from that, that's something we had to kind of push ourselves and push other people to responding to it. Everyone responds differently and personally to the different the characters that we have. This has been happening since the script phase, people reading the script, people responding to it, and then audiences who've come up to me afterwards and, I've sympathized with this character. It was to some degree calibrated that you would kind of be shifting and not really take sides. But it's also a little bit outside of our control which character people relate to, because it's been completely different.
Absolutely. Bill, I've really, really enjoyed talking to you, and congratulations again on your film. In wrapping up, there is a really profound line in the movie that goes, "Gay people don't take loving for granted because for so long we weren't allowed to be." And wow, it's such a beautiful piece.
Yeah.
If you had one takeaway for audiences to have after seeing your film, what would that be?
It's a film about divorce, but it's not about suffering. I mean, to us, it's a film it's a celebration of friendship and family and connection and healing and rising above conflict. So I hope people take away a feeling of, that kind of feeling of hope and optimism. And, if you're a queer person, feeling represented, and if you're not, a feeling of kind of having felt some empathy or learning something. I think the message really is that we're all human, basically, and trying to make our way in the world.
That's right.
So I think Billy wrote a song for the film that's in the closing credits that kind of captures that bittersweet feeling that I think the film has, and that we want an audience to take away from it.
Look, I felt all those things, and even in the words and music of Billy's song in the credits. So thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
When Owen was born, Gabriel fell in love with him, and you fell by the wayside. If it hadn't been so sweet, it would have been tragic.
Now, Lee, progress in queer storytelling is moving into exciting and challenging territory, which I'm sure you can agree with, which is a welcome shift. Our Son is just one example of the complexity of the human condition told from the perspective of a community, the queer community, who don't have stories like this told about them.
Well said. And I just really enjoyed that interview. What a really great chat, Tim. Thank you for bringing that to us.
Of course. Bill was an incredibly generous filmmaker to talk to, and I was just really curious to understand, as we learned in my chat, how he came to the project, what resonated with him most about it, especially because he was a co-writer on it. So a deeply personal story for him to tell audiences, which is nice.
I mean, it's so great that he's a filmmaker who's willing to tackle these stories and invite audiences to experience authentic and real characters in his work.
Absolutely. And look, we hope you enjoyed this special episode of Popcorn Podcast with Lee and Tim. We love bringing you these episodes, and we actually have many more conversations with filmmakers and stars in the works that help shed light on the process and experiences of filmmaking, which, as you know, listener, Lee and I just love to share with you guys.
Come nerd out with us, friends. Our Son is available on video on demand from December 15 after a limited run in US cinemas, and hopefully we'll get it down here as well.
Yes, that's right. Fingers crossed. And as always, friends, thank you so much for listening.
We'll catch you next time. We are now on YouTube, guys, where you will find our latest celebrity video interviews. Simply search Popcorn Podcast with Lee and Tim and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single one.